And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. Up first here, has this weather graphic. We have a high surf advisory out for the coastal areas of the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta, Nunivak Island, and also a high surf advisory for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast for possible beach erosion later tonight through tomorrow. And then there's a flood warning out for Mendenhall Lake due to a upstream glacier dam release that could possibly cause flooding there, some areas around the Lake Mendenhall, and that's through Sunday as well. And for the fire danger for spruce, extreme here over the Yukon Flats, extreme fire danger in the Tanana Valley there, on down to the southeast toward Northway, maybe Tok, with very high fire danger surrounding those areas. And fire danger increasing, expanding westward here as well in the high to very high category. Same thing up on the North Slope, mostly high fire danger there, and starting to ramp up more here over the Copper River Basin, very high fire danger along the Copper River Valley areas. And now seeing medium, Susitna Valley, Bristol Bay, and the Southern Panhandle. This is a volcanic plume from the Shishaldin volcano that erupted this morning. That sent a ash cloud up to about 31,000 feet earlier today and drifting off to the northeast, and really no ash expected this evening after mid-evening tonight on in through tomorrow. So kind of a minimal eruption with that. Satellite imagery showing clouds here through the central interior areas. Then some more clouds up along the western Arctic coast. Another batch here exiting the east side there. Lower clouds along the Arctic coast today. Fair conditions across southern Alaska. Some clouds there along the southern panhandle. Then this storm system out here, pretty fairly significant low coming into the Bering Sea with the front coming right across down into the Pribilof Islands. Big area of moisture with that, bringing gusty gale force winds and rain from the Fox Islands up across Pribilof into St. Matthew Island area. Advancing eastward, starting to rain now along Nunivak Island and about to push into the Alaska Peninsula. Behind the front, west winds, drier conditions, lighter westerly winds, seeing gusts as high as 35 to 50 miles an hour in advance of the front, again with gale warnings out. Otherwise, mostly sunny in some areas, mostly cloudy in other areas around the state today, with scattered thunderstorms developing mainly over the eastern Alaska range, and some shower activity here with isolated thunderstorm or two with this weak trough up over the northwest part of the state. Otherwise, mostly cloudy along the Arctic coast. Big area of sunshine here for the eastern North Slope into the Brooks Range, eastern Brooks Range, northern upper Yukon Valley today. Also some sunshine down across Kodiak, or across the southeast coast. High pressure in the Gulf of Alaska making for light winds for Kodiak Island, all of southern Alaska today. Again, most of the wind out with this front, or just about all of the wind out in advance of this frontal system over the Bering Sea. And for tonight, gale warnings develop for St. Lawrence Island, again with gusts of 50 miles an hour down along the Yukon Delta coast. Nunivak Island, rain possibly heavy at times for Nunivak Island, with rain spreading up to St. Lawrence Island and rain diminishing, winds more southwest, rain starting to taper off, becoming lighter for the Pribilof Islands, and wet conditions move into the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, behind that front, westerly lighter winds and some scattered showers here behind it, so becoming mostly dry for the Aleutians, maybe some clearing, especially behind the front there, a narrow band of clearing. Mostly clear western central interior, still a risk of some showers of this weak trough up over the western Arctic coast down into the maybe the Brooks Range, nothing significant there, and showers lingering tonight for the eastern Alaska Range areas, and maybe a risk of a shower, some drizzle there, lower clouds along the southeast coastal areas. And then this low here may spin a little bit of shower activity up along the central and south coast tomorrow for the Panhandle. Just a chance of some light precipitation there at times, otherwise partly sunny for the southeast coast and dry with light winds. Variably cloudy here for the Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast areas under high pressure with light winds again, and again isolated thunderstorms developing along the Alaska Range areas, but not too widespread at all. Very just isolated at best here over the interior. So looking at a dry, sunny, Very warm day, eastern half of the state, 85 to 90 for the highs tomorrow, 80 central interior, then cooling off as you head west there. But pretty warm conditions for the North Slope and Arctic coast as well up there, with temperatures on the North Slope in the 70s, 60s up along the coastline. And front moves, rain starts to weaken, getting hung up here. The low center really not moving too much, kind of drifting northward there, west-northwest of St. Matthew Island. Stays wet and windy for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait, with periods of light rain and diminishing winds along the southwest coast and the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. Rain spreading into western Bristol Bay, possibly reaching Sitkinak late tomorrow afternoon. Lighter winds, dry conditions, maybe some clearing all along the Aleutian chain tomorrow. And then moving on to Sunday, this front still hung up, kind of moves in. New low center develops and tracks northeastward there. That'll bring the rain definitely into Kodiak Island. Increasing southeast flow across the Gulf will bring rain to the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound. And southern Kenai Peninsula, Seward into Turnagain Arm and Passage Canal, through Passage Canal into Turnagain Arm, cutting off probably around the Chugach Mountains, so dry for Anchorage down to Kenai, Anchor Point, Susitna-Matanuska Valley, dry conditions, but more clouds, cooler temperatures. Sunny, highs in the 80s, central eastern interior, 70 to 80 for the North Slope, 60s to mid-70s possible for the Arctic coast, all along the Arctic coast on Sunday, very warm there. And partly sunny skies with a few showers, possibly just a slight risk here for the southeast coast. Lows tonight in the 50s, all of interior Alaska, all the way up to the Arctic coast, 50s for the Panhandle, 40s out to the west over the Bering Sea to St. Lawrence Island. Highs out there, 50s for the Bering Sea area. And along the coast there with that front, keeping it cooler with the clouds and rain. High near 50 for St. Lawrence Island, 50s and lower 60s up over the northwest part of the state, 70s to near 80, maybe even lower 80s for portions of the North Slope, 80s lower to mid, central interior, 85 to 92 over the east side there, and temperatures in the 70s for the Panhandle, lower 80s Copper River Basin, 65 to 75 south central Alaska and the Kenai Peninsula. Lows on Sunday morning, again in the 50s, closer to 60 around the greater Fairbanks area, 50s even up along the Arctic coast, and upper 40s out here over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, 55 to 60 for the lows there in the southeast coast. Highs tomorrow, or highs on Sunday, in the 70s, a little cooler along the coast there, but still pretty nice conditions. Staying in the 80s, central and eastern interior, 80s for portions of the North Slope, with 70s now showing up along the Arctic coast, a little more extensive now. Mid-60s central Arctic coast near 60 Kodiak Island, in the 50s out west.